kabuuan at yung mas malalim na description or mas thicker na description ng isang annual production cycle. Siguro ang ating mga participants, can ask them to imagine, balik kayo sa inyong mga communities. Meron ba kayong mga napansin na mga production cycle? Maybe we can ask, no? We can share. Kanina nga si Irvin, marami ng tanong. Pwedeng mag-participate yung iba natin participants na babae this time? Kasi na-mention ko rin na mailarawan din gagawin.
Ma'am, pakiulit daw po nung tanong sa chat box po at medyo po kasi mahina po yung connection.
The question is, meron ba kayong pwedeng ma-share na mga activities, subsistence activities na gusto ninyong tingnan at pag-aralan? At as an example, production site.
Thank you. Let's continue then.
Yeah, sige.
Let's talk about habagat and habagat and pangayaw.
Yes po, you can. Kayo po.
Okay. Ito na yung habagat, di ba? Pag ano na yung habagat. Tapos ito na yung... Ngayon, pag ganito na, pupunta na yung mga pangayaw sa Gigantes. Ito yung Gigantes. It's a tiny speck of island. This is the Visayan Sea. Very, very productive fishing ground. No? This is Cebu, Bantayan, and this is Naro in part of Masbate. So they would come here to fish. Okay? Then after a while, after the end of the season, they go back. Yung mga fishers dito, pupunta naman dito sa kanila. No? So, yun ang description. Pero anong nangyayari? Pag yung mga tao nagmo-move about, nagkakaroon siya ng exchange of men and women. So, some women from Naro marries men would marry a man in Gigante here, and then some Gigante people will marry maybe people from Bantayan, no, here. And this is just an example of the pangayaw who would go to Gigantes. So maraming implications yung movement of people, no? There's trade, there's exchange of technology, introduction of new fishing gears, kinship relations, alliances, no, and extension of trade network. Yan. Okay, now can you continue Arvi, can you continue the other activities? I can't hear you.
Yeah, sige po. So this way of tracking events can guide the researcher what to ask further to enrich data. Researcher can also prepare what to do for, say, the dry season when the fiesta comes, documenting the festival among others. So fishing activities of the beginning May until the third week of December. Ito yung itang panglagaw. Mga klaseng isda po ito. Lagaw is besugo siguro sa ibang lugar. Palubog is a fishing gear from May to April. Sinabi mong kasag, so kasag is crab. And again, is a kind of fishing gear. Ang lukon is
it's a line with jigger.
Pero it's a fishing gear, pero ang lukon is prawn.
It's a lure. It's a fake lure.
Yeah. So, pundasyon,
It's
and,
fish shelter,
and panipay.
panipay.
So, ang farming activities naman sa fiesta at the end of May, panggas. So, when you say nagpanggas ka, so, panguma, well, the general term for farming, and ang first crop is in October. Tapos, again, after nag-harvest ka, magpanggas ka ulit. So, you sow again. And the end of November is, again, panguma. So, and then you have your second crop, ani, in February. But it's important that you use the table to plot the activities so you can have a detailed description of the fishing methods as well as the farming activities on a
Okay.
monthly.
Okay. Now, you just have keywords here. We give you a list of what happens when you go fishing, what happens when you go farming. Uh, I really think that you can write more than 20 pages of description just using this as a guide. When you talk about kitang, you describe what kitang is all about. No? How do you fish with kitang? What are your tools? When do you go out? When do you come back? What are the things that you, di ba? What are the things? And what are your beliefs when you see something like this? How do you go to, ang dami, di ba? So mapupuno na yung iyong libro. You see, so this is just a buslo, no? What you put it in your container. Your container is your map, is your table. It will guide you on how to write, what to write, and there is a chronological or seasonality of what you are saying, so people can follow. See, so that's why you have these tools, that this is like a database for you to follow. Ano bang ginagawa? Ito yung major activities kasi eh. These are the major activities that is in a small community, no? In a small community. You can go into the details of this, what happens in the fiesta, who is the yung patron of the fiesta, how is this patron circulated. Diba? Pero usually sponsor of the fiesta, siya yung magdidress ng santo o mag-aayos ng chapel. Oh, we're talking about local community here. It's not indigenous people. We're talking about local community, lowland, coastal community. Okay? So there's fishing, farming. Ang dami na, di ba? Kasi, paano ko ba isusulat yung fishing? Paano ko ba isusulat? Saan ba ako magsisimula? The best way is you start with a season. Ano ang nangyayari? That's your guide, no? But there's also an important, very important sense of time. Yan. Ario, this is your forte.
Well, not really. Pero ang pinapakita dito ay ang bulan ay mahalaga na palatandaan sa ating mga mangingisda. Yung aking sa undergraduate thesis, yung lunar cycle becomes a predictor for good catch and poor catch. Alam niya ng mangingisda na ayaay, kaya hindi siya mag-e-expect na marami siyang makukuha. Pero pag bato, alam niya na abundant catch niya. At tinitingnan niya lang yung buwan. Alam niya na ito yung magandang time to go fishing. So, ang mga detalye na makikita natin dito, pwede rin nating itanong sa mga mangingisda. Kasi meron nga silang mga terms anakan, saharibukan, paribukan, haribukan, meron pang ngipin. bulan. Merong talaku bulan, abase bulan, tiyong bulan, and amatay bulan. Sa aking research, so merong mga terms like, of course, the full moon is ugsad, and ligong dulong is the new moon. And merong nga kwarto, pag-ulit na kwarto, for the first quarter and the last quarter. Alam nila na pag ganito ang itsura ng buwan, patch or ayaay. And they can even define na sa second night of the appearance of the first quarter, yung bag ng ayaay. So, papunta na siya ng for the good patch or the abundant patch. Rich masyado ang local knowledge sa ginagamit na traditional na paraan para time mo ang iyong fishing cycle. So, ang alam din natin na ang influences the tide. Kaya ang mangingisda natin terms like malaki ang tubig at dahil sa ang lunar cycle affects the tides, mahalaga yung naiintindihan nila, parang may language sa kanila, ang nature. And ito yung kailangan nating kasi ngayon yung ating fishers, reliant na rin sila sa kalendaryo. Merong pieces of and so let's try to document knowledge of the lunar cycle and how it affects not just fishing but other subsistence activities. Meron po kayong madagdag, Ma'am Chip?
Yeah. Kasi nung bago pa inintroduce sa atin yung Gregorian calendar, the calendar that we use, ang ginagamit natin yung lunar calendar. No? And most Asian peoples use the lunar calendar. Kaya nga sabi ng mga Hapon, yung Old New Year at saka New Year. Yung Old New Year is the Lunar New Year. Remember ang Chinese may Lunar New Year? They use the old lunar calendar. Diba? Lunar New Year. The Vietnamese have Lunar New Year. Diba? Remember the Tet Offensive in Vietnam? Nung natalo yung mga colonialists versus the Vietcong, that was a Tet Offensive. No? Lunar calendar. The lunar calendar is the guiding calendar of the fishers and the farmers. The traditional Filipino fishers and farmers, indigenous peoples, they follow the lunar calendar. Yan. So, in Quiapo, there is what is called almanaque. This is the almanac. It tells the fishers and the farmers kailan ang mataas ang tubig, mababa ang tubig, bright full moon, madilim, walang buwan, at anong dapat gawin. May mga dapat magtanim na ng ganito, o magpunla ng ganito, o meron daling Christian, may Christian na rin, at kailangan magdasal kay Santong ganito. May dagdag na, no? So that old almanac still exists, no? And it's based on lunar calendar. Ito, hindi sila conscious na lunar calendar yung sinasabi nila. But if you plot it on the Gregorian calendar, you will notice. No? And if you look at the Chinese, yung mga binibigay na kalendar ng mga inchi, dalawa nakasulat doon, yung alphabet at saka yung Arabic numbers, numeral, di ba? Tapos merong Chinese character. Yun ang lunar, yung pula, nakasulat. Kaya iba yung dates doon eh. You try to, then, if you still have a calendar, you ask the lumberyard o yung hardware, dalawa ang information sa kanilang kalendaryo. The lunar calendar and the Gregorian calendar. This is how important it is. And this one, I showed you is a Bajau. This is a Sama Bajau, Sama de Laut lunar calendar. And from this, you can start asking what are their activities from these images alone. No? O pagdating ng full moon, ay naku, ikakasal na dyan si ganito, ganyan. Wala na kaming gagawin. Of course, wala kang magagawa sa full moon. Hindi, nakikita ka ng mga isda, hindi sila magpapahuli sa'yo. Kaya, that is the time that they have these activities. The community activity. Walang fishing, walang isda kasi dako ang buwan, sabi ng mga Bisaya. Maragul ang bulan. Yan. So this is one guide, a very important guide that we should know. At saka from here, you can also find belief system by this. Diba pag malaki ang buwan, dito yata lumalabas eh. Diba? Kahit sa Western mythology, folklore, dito lumalabas yung mga spirits or something that we don't want to see. Right? So do you have yung mga members ng do you have knowledge about these phases of the moon? Meron ba? Bakit mayroong place name called Bulan Sorsogon?
May gustong mag-share.
Okay. Someone?
Let's move to the next slide, Ma'am Chim.
Okay. Can you do this?
Mapapansin natin pag nag-aaral tayo sa mga village communities, meron silang reference sa other than us beings in a village community. When we ask to write about our village, we are often confronted as to how to integrate our beliefs, as they say, superstitions. All Filipinos believe there are other things other than us. Here is how indigenous locals' knowledge about this perceive as contained system of beliefs, especially of our because humans are inexplicably two examples, Ma'am Chim, you want to share this? The townscape of spaces.
Okay. Can you go on, RV?
So in that we say living with dili ingon nato, being other than us. So a village community na